sometimes when people talk about Ukraine, and in particular the corruption, which everyone knows has been absolutely endemic.
Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. Today we've got some spicy stories. We got a whole bunch of stories to get through. Let's just jump into this. First off, we got Jagmeet trying to be a tough guy with Pierre Poilievre. This is a real laugh right here. Brace yourself for a good knee slapper. It says Jagmeet Singh pretends to be the Prime Minister of Canada and threatens Pierre Poilievre to cave to his demands or else. This is the same guy who's holding an entire country practically hostage because of his power and greed. Yeah, that $2.3 million golden pension. Let's see what Jaggy has to say.
48 hours. Pierre, I'm giving you 48 hours to decide. Because women have worked way too hard to see their rights rolled back. So you have 2 days to decide whether you're going to stop blocking our attempt to bring in free birth control for women, or New Democrats will force through that legislation whether you want it or not. Either way, New Democrats will show you can't mess with women's rights in Canada.
This guy's hilarious. He thinks he's the prime minister. I think this is his plan. If you look at all the other situations recently, he's trying to talk down. He's trying to be punching down, or whatever that one term they always use, with Justin Trudeau saying, oh, we forced him to do this, we forced him to do that. Now he's doing it with Pierre Poilievre. He's trying to pretend he's a prime minister. This guy really loves the power. He really loves the spotlight. This guy's all about his golden pension, number one. The only thing, Jagmeet, nobody trusts you, buddy. You're just a lying snake, just like all the other liberals and NDP. Easy there, you don't want to be the enemy of my pension. This is Jagmeet Singh's hypocrisy. So you support men competing in women's sports, and you support men being allowed into women's spaces such as changing rooms, washrooms, prisons, women's shelters, etc. But do you think Pierre is one not supporting women? For a commie, he sure likes to dress well on the taxpayer's dime. Glut of homes flood Toronto market, but the problem is nobody's buying them. That's right. So I believe, was it June 25th, the capital gains increase, the inclusion rate increase goes up. So there's just this big flood of houses just dumping onto the market. I'm sure this is nationwide, but it's going to be more focused in Toronto and Vancouver. We'll take a look here. Yeah, that's a lot of houses. I mean, just look at these numbers. 1,400. 467, 475. Anyone need to buy a house? If you are going to buy a house, I would wait, because the prices are only going to drop from here. You would just be paying extra versus if you wait 1 month. Let's go over to Toronto here and see what we get. Oh yeah. Yeah, who's going to buy these? Who has the money to buy these? 10,000 just in the downtown Toronto area for sale. So if we just go right downtown here, it's like every street corner. So there's been a lot of protesting going on at universities, and it's getting weird because they're setting up these fences and blocking themselves in, and it's just, and they're banging the drums and making all sorts of noise. And I feel for anyone who lives near any of these universities where the Palestine protesters are setting up these encampments. Now look at this. These guys didn't like it, so they started blaring "Oh Canada" in French out of their vehicle right next to one of these, and they're the ones who get in trouble. Of course they do, because there's double standard in Canada. Here comes the cops.
They were blasting their music for 2 hours straight. We all heard it. No, they've been blasting music for the last 2 hours, these guys. Did you not hear that? They've been blasting music for the last 2 hours. We haven't said nothing.
They haven't been blasting music.
Over there,
I'm not saying shit off until you do.
They have right there for the last 2 hours. This is a national anthem.
The double standard in this country is just gross. The citizens who've paid the taxes and built this nation are treated like absolute trash. Go to the comments here. Imagine the audacity of camping out illegally, protesting the perishing of Jews, then calling the police because you can't sleep till 10 a.m. after partying all night on university grounds. Next up, we've got the boycott of Loblaws going on. It seems to be working in some places. Big superstores empty on Saturday morning with cashiers actually available. So any superstore I've ever gone into is always packed. It doesn't matter what time you go in there. There's always going to be people in there. I've never seen one this empty. It's like 2 people in there. Wonder what Galen Weston has to say about that. Are Loblaws profits up? The retailer said its profit available to common shareholders increased almost 10% year over year to $459 million, or $1.47 per diluted share, for the quarter ended March 23rd. Revenue totaled $13.58 billion, up from $13 billion a year earlier. A lot of profit, man. I think the main thing to be looked at here is, why can Dollarama sell the exact same Heinz ketchup for $2.50 where Loblaws is selling it for like $6? That's the real question here. Next up, we got a story here from the Counter Signal. It says majority of Canadian renters think Trudeau is incapable of solving the housing crisis. Yeah, he is. A new survey has revealed that 9 in 10 Canadian renters struggled to afford rent. 3/4 believe the Trudeau government is inefficient in solving the issue of affordability. It says here 92% of Canadian renters say they struggle. The most important stat on this is the only 2% of respondents viewing Trudeau's efforts as effective. 2% of the country think he's effective. That is horrible. It doesn't get worse than that. Well, 2% worse. Next up, we got a brutal story here posted by Pierre Polyev. A 2-year-old put a D-word needle in her mouth at the park. People's dogs are having overdoses after ingesting hard candy left on walking trails. When will we wake up from this Trudeaupian nightmare?
9-year-old Catalea is now worried about visiting local parks after being pierced by a discarded needle at Hollinger Park.
She's several times came up to me, Mom, there's needles. Mom, look, there's a needle. Kids don't need to see that at a park. It's supposed to be for the children.
A 2-year-old child found a syringe around a play structure and put the needle in her mouth around 11:30 a.m.
A playground where hundreds of children play is getting a lot of attention after needles were found, resulting in some kids getting pricked by the drug paraphernalia. These photos of used needles and other drug paraphernalia scattered on the Trans-Canada Trail.
A South Surrey man is warning other dog owners after his Labrador nearly died of a fentanyl overdose. The dog had to be revived with naloxone after somehow inhaling or ingesting the deadly drug while out for a walk.
The SPCA says they are hearing of more and more pet overdoses, and they're warning pet owners what to watch for.
Coquitlam RCMP are warning the public after a puppy was poisoned by toxic drugs at a local park. Wag, a 4-month-old Heartland Terrier puppy, is recovering after his nose touched a suspicious substance while on a walk with his owner in a wooded area of Monday Park.
Yeah, Trudeau is destroying our country. This is unacceptable. It's one thing to test out an absolutely insane policy. It's another thing to refuse to reverse it when the guy who wanted to test it is begging to reverse it. Trudeau's not reversing it because he wants the chaos. Otherwise, he would just stroke of the pen, it'd be done. It would have been done yesterday or the day before. Something note about this too, I've got a friend who works in a local government. If you touch this stuff, say they grab the handle of in the bus, if you touch that, it can be absorbed in through your skin. It can be transmitted like that. Like, it's getting to the point where I don't want to go into public spaces where I have to touch stuff, and I like basically want to bring gloves. So I'd recommend anyone who lives in BC here like me, wear some gloves if you're going to public, especially if you're on a bus or a SkyTrain or something, because it's just too dangerous now to live in our country with these addicts spreading their hard candy stuff everywhere. I think what would be suiting is if we collected all of these needles and stuff and dumped them on David Eby's front lawn. I think that would be suiting. Just his entire yard filled with this crap. And while we're at it, we can put those on Justin Trudeau's lawn. On the same topic, we've got a video here from the House of Commons, which just the other day. This is just like the response from the Liberals is unreal.
Mr. Speaker, this government is supposed to be in the business of protecting children, not killing them with exposure and access to hard drugs. The RCMP has confirmed that legal hard drugs are being sold on the black market. In Abbotsford, the Soccer Association has to regularly sweep the needles for pitch. The Legion and many businesses in Mission have to deal with crack smoke every day. When will this government do the right thing and cancel their ideologically extreme experiment to legalize hard drugs and start protecting BC's children?
Mr. Speaker, as a mother of 3, including teenagers, I care so much about Canada and Canadians, and I agree, opioid addiction is a tragedy, it is a public health tragedy, and it is a public safety tragedy. But let me tell you what is putting the public safety of all Canadians at risk. Consorting with white supremacists and misogynists. That is a public safety risk. The Conservatives have an opportunity today to disavow that. They should do it.
You know, it's a public safety risk if we start dumping all those used needles on Christia Freeland's lawn. See what she thinks of that. So in a recent video, I showed you guys the evidence of basically it was Diagon themselves telling Canada they hate Pierre Poilievre. There is a hatred between the two, or at least mutual disdain to say the least. Stephen Chuckery here tagged me on this from 2022. Just remember, Justin Trudeau and Christia Freeland keep telling Pierre Poilievre that he needs to denounce Diagon, stand up and blah, 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 like the same thing over and over. Well, he's already done it. It's right here. As Stephen sent to me here, statement from Honorable Pierre Poilievre. This weekend, I became aware of disgusting comments made by Jeremy McKenzie, aka Diagon, and another man, where they discuss S.A., my wife. These men are dirtbags. Frankly, like most Canadians, until about a month ago, I'd never heard of Diagon and these losers. They're all odious. My office has referred these comments to the RCMP to assess whether criminal charges should be laid. This kind of garbage has no place in Canada. No one should face this abuse. People can attack my politics. They can call me names. They can protest my ideas and what I stand for, but threatening my wife and family is appalling and I will not tolerate it. Leave my family alone. What is Justin Trudeau and Christia Freeland talking about? Pierre Poilievre has already called these guys out. As you can see here, he calls them dirtbags and losers. These guys are a bunch of lewd and crude white supremacists who run their mouth. They're kind of like the Halo, toxic Halo crew, if you've ever played video games where it's just toxic. They're like that, except one step higher because they're ex-military. At least the one guy, the Jeremy McKenzie, is 12 years ex-military. They say some stuff that's pretty spicy, and often it's on the edge of free speech or not. I think he's gotten into some legal trouble because of that, or some certain other actions, but these guys aren't some big group. It was a big meme. They hate the government on both sides. Poilievre has already denounced them. This whole story of Diagon gets more and more embarrassing as this goes on. Speaking of Christia Freeland and humiliating, check out this clip. As posted here by Wiretap Media, it says Ukrainian ditch rat Christia Freeland has publicly admitted on several occasions that Ukraine is a corrupt state filled with punks and thieves, and if you don't want to send your money to fund their unwinnable war, you're not a real Canadian.
One final thing I will say, I think sometimes when people talk about Ukraine and Ukrainian reforms, there is a view that the only issue is making changes which are expensive. That's not true. There is a lot that Ukrainian government officials can do right now to improve the economy that costs absolutely nothing. And in particular, the corruption, which everyone knows has been absolutely endemic and has been a huge, huge barrier to growth, a huge cost. Fixing that doesn't need to be expensive. And I have been really delighted to hear the Ukrainian officials I've been speaking to very enthusiastically say, we are committed to doing this.
The fact that she knows it's corrupt, once these fools are out of power, we need a forensic investigation on where our money went to Ukraine. And if they're funneling money, they're stealing money, we need to lock down their bank accounts and steal all of the Liberals' bank accounts. Just drain them all to get our money back. This money laundering. Next up, we got an interesting post from Wall Street Silver. It says Justin Trudeau's government is planning $25,000 exit fee for Canadians trying to flee the nightmare he has created. I don't know what the current fees are. I know there are some costs when you do leave Canada as a citizen. This here, I don't know if this story is true, but it says Canada proposes $25,000 departure penalty. If you Google it, it comes up with this article in the Times Now that says authorities in Canada have no such plans to propose such a hefty cost on ordinary Canadians who want to leave the country. I mean, when it comes down to it, if you just move your money to whatever country, Colombia, and then just leave, it's like, what are they going to do? The worst they could do is contact Colombia and the embassy and try to stir something up. I don't know. According to this, that this article here isn't true, so take it for what it's worth. Being the Trudeau Liberals, I believe anything at this point. They're just a bunch of thieves. Next up on the counter signal here, we've got an article that says the former NDP leader, Tom Mclair, says Fergus needs to resign.
I've never seen anything like this, Vashi. Never in my career have I seen such, in my view, blatant partisanship from a speaker. I mean, if you were to do a scale of 1 to 10 of bad words, wacko comes in at about 2.5, somewhere close to spineless. And somehow Greg Fergus got it in his head that he could boot out Pierre Poilievre. Fergus should do the right thing and simply step down. He cannot, with any credibility, based on my many years' experience in both provincial legislature and in the House of Commons, he cannot continue to do that job credibly himself. He made a huge mistake. When Poilievre said, I simply withdraw, he should have ended it there. Instead, he went after the leader of the opposition. Unbelievable. Yeah. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, nothing will happen to him because it's all corrupt and he's propped up by Trudeau. What's interesting too is just before that, as he mentioned, the spineless comment. How is spineless not as bad as wacko? If anything, spineless is a worse insult than wacko, but obviously it's up to this guy here who's calling the shots. Next up here, we got a clip from Daisy Media in Ottawa. Palestine protesters, they're back out there on the weekly protest, as he says here.
Crowd coming behind me, the weekly anti-Israel march coming through Ottawa. It is taking a new route today. It's headed down to the University of Ottawa, where for a number of days there has been an encampment set up. This looks like a large crowd coming over the bridge. Laurier Avenue is shut down completely in both directions. Ottawa U encampment down this way in the distance.
So why are the cops not doing something here? If we just go back a little bit, you guys see here, it says genocide. This is illegal in Canada. You can't call for the genocide of another people. You can't do that. You also can't wear masks. This guy's slightly cut off on the screen there. You can't wear masks when protesting. Also illegal. You can't use smoke grenades in public without permission, which I bet you they don't have permission, which means they're breaking 3 laws. You can't climb excavators that you don't own. Breaking 4 laws. When is enough enough? How many laws can these people break and not be arrested? They need to know what the laws are in this country and obey them. Otherwise, they need to go home. You can't just make whatever laws you want up here. That's not how it works. We don't break our backs working in this country every day, paying taxes for year after year. People show up, start breaking laws, and they're not punished. This double standard is absolute garbage, and this needs to be dealt with now. What's even more aggravating is these people get paid to do this. They're not paying taxes on that, though, I'm guessing. Taking the money from whoever is funding them. They're not paying taxes into our system. They're just essentially using the services of our country and providing nothing back. Palestine protesters, it's time to wrap it up. Next up, we got an article here, which is absolutely insane. It's basically a federal property tax. Buckle up. So this is an idea that Trudeau's kicking around to make some more money. Why not? Just tax the people into oblivion. Federal Liberal idea to tax vacant residential land could most affect Surrey, North Van, and Langley. This is coming from the Vancouver Sun, so they're talking about locally Vancouver here, but this would apply everywhere. The idea is that if you have land within the city that you're not building a house on or a fourplex or whatever, then they're going to hit you with a federal property tax. So you're going to pay your provincial property tax and then a federal property tax. Let's just look at the property tax rates. I got them right here. So in BC, Vancouver property tax is actually very low, considering if you look at car insurance, it's the exact opposite. It's very high. But I mean, you got Whistler, West Van, Burnaby, Surrey, etc., etc. And as we go down here, it just goes up, and there's basically a jump right here. These are all based on a $500,000 assessed value. Yeah, so Vancouver, this is going to be 4 times that, but yeah. Now, to note, these are provincial property taxes. So how much is the federal going to be? The same as this, half of this, double this? Who knows? I'm guessing they would just target probably the same values provincial, but in the article here, it says there are 11,000 small and large plots of land across metro area that are zoned for residential use but sit empty. Justin Trudeau floated the idea of taxing unused land as a way to spurring housing construction, which could impact Surrey, North Vancouver, and Langley. Surrey tops the list with the highest number of vacant lots where there are no residential structures. The federal government said it's considering a tax for land that is zoned residential use and will hold consultations later this year. Metro Vancouver is described as being constrained when it comes to building, as it's hemmed in by water, mountains, and land. So basically, yeah, I mean, if you've never been to Vancouver, there's big mountains on one side, there's the ocean on the other side, and there's this little piece of land, and that's it. There's a strip of land around there, and then you just go right into the deep mountains. So the director of city program at Simon Fraser University, Andy Yan here, he said that the process is akin to figuring out why empty condos are vacant in order to develop policy and exemptions with a focus of incentivizing owners to fill properties with occupants is because the owner or tenant has extended hospital stay or they're using property only a few weeks a year, ? Some vacant residential land is held as an investment for decades. Some lots are parcels of land zoned for subdivisions that have never been hooked into services such as water or sewage, making it harder to develop to secure financing. From my time working in the real estate industry, as well as the many times I've been to China as part of a Chinese family for nearly a decade, I can tell you the rich Chinese from Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, they like to, and Hong Kong especially, they like to come over and buy stuff up and then they just let it sit. They want to get their money out of China, out of CCP's grasp. They don't want Xi Jinping stealing their money. They want to get it into Canada. They find that's a safe place to put it. They don't even care if they lose 10, 20, 30% on it, like overpaying or whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as they can get away from China where they can't have their money stolen, they dump it here to buying in land, buying up big towers, buying up farms, whatever it may be. They don't care. They just want to get it over here. And so often they'll just buy it, let it hold for not even just months and months and months, but years and years, decades and decades, because they know you can come back 20 years later and that little piece of land will be worth a ton of money. So it didn't matter if they overpaid for it at the start. Statistics 2021 found the city of Surrey, there are 2,580 or so vacant land residential properties. North Vancouver has 2,100, Langley has 1,200, and the city of Vancouver has 345. Yeah, there's not a lot of empty plots in Vancouver itself. The comments here, Trudeau's new handle is taxman. If you own anything, he will take it one way or another. So now government wants to add another tax to privately held land. It seems Canada is truly turning into a communist state. I mean, if you buy a piece of land and it's yours, you shouldn't even have to pay property tax on that if you don't have a building on it, because you're not there using it. It's not like you're getting services. You're not using water. You're not using, gas hookup. It's pretty goofy that you would even pay property tax on a vacant piece of land. And that's your land. You should be able to just hold it if you want it held. It comes back to the whole situation though. It's like, should housing be a business? I don't think so. I think everyone should be able to have one or two extra houses for vacation houses, but people shouldn't have 47 houses and be some mega landlord. Having a piece of land that you want to hold for your kids so they can develop a house on it in 15 years and now you're getting charged federal property tax, I think that's absurd. Leave it to Trudeau to come up with the worst ideas to further tax Canadians into oblivion. And to finish off this episode, I got two interesting and feel-good stories to kind of lift the mood here, because it's always Trudeau beating us down. This is really interesting. So basically, scientists have discovered a plethora of water underneath the Earth's surface.
What lies below the Earth's surface? The crust, the mantle filled with hot lava, the deep and bubbling hot core. Yes, all of that is true, but there is also something else there. Scientists have found an ocean under the Earth's surface, a massive one at that. Sounds staggering, right? Let me tell you all about it. The discovery has been made some 700 kilometers deep into the Earth. The ocean lies just above the lower mantle in something called the mantle transition zone. The water is present in a rock known as ringwoodite. And do you know how big this ocean is? About 3 times the volume of all the planet's oceans combined. So if you take all of the Earth's oceans and triple them, that is the amount of water discovered inside the Earth.
It really makes me think like we're living in water world now. Everyone get your ski boots out. Where's Kevin Costner? For anyone who hasn't seen the movie, here's the Kevin Costner's boots from the... They're literally ski boots. They just made them look junky. It's a movie about where dirt is the most precious resource and everyone lives on these floating platforms. Yeah, like this. It's basically like Mad Max. Anyways, moving on. And our final story of the night, we've got the canine dog Rex sent into retirement with a tennis ball surprise. I'm pretty sure this is in America based on this. I like that they do this for their dogs that serve in military or in the police force, etc. Okay, the music's gonna be copyright music, but yeah, I'm guessing this dog was a hard candy sniffing dog in the airport. I like that they all spend the time to do this for the dog. They don't have to do this, but they respect the dog. That's where we're going to wrap up this episode. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys are thinking about all of that. There's from underwater oceans, 3 times the size of all our oceans combined, living on water world, the federal property tax. We've got Jagmeet trying to be a tough guy, Christia Freeland admitting she knows about corruption in Ukraine, doubling, tripling down on the Diagon garbage. There's just so much. So let me know in the comments down below. I greatly appreciate all of you watching. Be sure to subscribe. Hit that button, the button that used to be red, now it's black. As well as turn on notifications if you want to check out some merch. I've got some new merch linked up down below. We're going to keep fighting for freedom. I'll keep bringing you guys news. I'll see you guys in the next one.